Okay. Listen, breakfast has been served.
Welcome to the Power Breakfast. Please join me before we get started in giving it up for Ryan and the cast of Owning Manhattan.
Yay.
Wow. Yay. Wow. All right, I'm gonna sit too. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate having you, and we have the whole rest of the cast in the audience as well. So I am gonna hopefully give you all a whole bunch of time. We have some folks with microphones in the audience who we can grab for you all to ask some questions of these folks up on stage and of the other cast members as well, because we have truly the whole cast here. And so I wanna just start with you all on stage and just tell me a little bit, Season 1's been out for a while. Season 2 is wrapped.
Yep.
But wrapped in kind of a very different market. So I'm interested to hear, what can we expect that's a little bit different? What are you all facing in the market right now that's been different and challenging for you?
Murder.
Oh.
Murder, incarceration. Lots of people have gone to jail.
A lot.
It's just the market is just wild. It's crazy. It's all been captured on season 2. I think it's going to probably be the most riveting season of reality television the world has ever seen.
It's a bold claim.
And and I think there's about $1 billion worth of transaction volume that we captured. The show is a deal show. It's not a listing show, right? It's a deal show, and it's the drama that happens around the deals that we do, the company that we're building, and it's an all-out assault, But that's.
Do you all
I think that's a good way to talk about it.
Yeah. No, I love that framing. Do you all feel that pressure with the listings that you have on the show to get those deals done? Does having them on the show help you close them?
1,000%. Like, I don't want to show anything that I don't sell, ever.
Yeah.
So I feel like the pressure's on 10 times more because they're showing you doing it, and you don't want anyone to see you not be able to sell anything, because this is our digital resume now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I get stressed out totally.
I want all of my listings that I have on the show to be sold as well. But I think one of the unique things about season 2 is that all of the agents not only deal with success, but we also deal with failure, which is loss. Mm-hmm. So it's not just a show where it's like, oh my God, they're winning every single day. And we are constantly faced with challenges. And it's going to be really interesting to see how all of us
it's okay.
deal with
We're good.
Challenges every single
challenges.
Wow. We'll get it later.
You agree, Jess?
Yeah, and I also think even though the market's been more challenging, I do think we have more listings this year. I think the sellers have come to the table and are more willing to sell than they were when we were filming season 1, because I know that was a challenge to get people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to hear a little bit about that, right? About how challenging it was, especially going into season 1 and then compare it to season 2 to get, whether it's the seller of the unit or the developer of the building to agree to be on the show themselves, to have their listing on the show, because it can, it could impact the sale. If people see on Netflix that, somebody's coming into this listing and not buying it, like there's a downside to that, right? So what are those conversations like? Have they changed?
Very difficult. Developers, I would say, are more open to it because it's not their home, it's not their primary residence. You're not having people traipsing through, seeing, photos of your loved ones and things like that. I would definitely say, some people love it, some people are part of it, but especially at the higher price point, these are huge assets. They don't want people knowing who owns their houses. Not that we disclose that, but if it's out in the press, people are looking, they're Googling. There's always a way to find the information. So it's definitely, it was a struggle for us this year to get. They either all want to be a part of the show or they want us nowhere around it. And you just don't know what you're going to get. And a lot of people call you because of the show, but they absolutely don't want cameras anywhere around their property.
And they're calling you out specifically and being like, do not bring this anywhere near. How do you deal with that?
Are you on the show? Don't want any cameras at my house.
How does that work? So it's either like it's a mixed bag because people either want it and then they're on it, or they want it and then they're not on it. So you can't have it both ways. Mm-hmm. And I think the show attracts the right type of people to our business and Serhant specifically because of that. And the people that we work with, for the most part, do want their properties to be featured online. And I think it's a really big avenue for us to sell more real estate.
Yeah, I mean, what is our job at the end of the day as a real estate brokerage, right? It's to provide connection. Yeah. Right? It's not necessarily to provide service anymore. It's to provide connection between agents and consumers. And so how do you do that? You have to have a distribution funnel. Mm-hmm. Like, our distribution is bulletproof. our CAC, if you're in an e-commerce business, you talk about CAC all the time, right? So customer acquisition costs. Our CAC is profit. And so we are able to put our properties in front of more qualified eyeballs than any other real estate brokerage in the United States combined in moments notice. And that's not just because of like what would air on Netflix. It's what we can do through the power of social. It's what we could do just through our website. And so when we explain that to clients, they understand it. They unlock it. Like we're selling Mercedes-Benz residences in Miami for JDS and Michael Stern, and Mercedes-Benz. Like, well, we want to make sure that is the tower going to be on Netflix. Like, well, it's called Owning Manhattan.
So,
but let me use this as a good pitch to Netflix for owning Miami. And so, but we filmed in Miami, and Mercedes-Benz, they flew in from Stuttgart, Germany, and JDS is on the show, and because there's a real distribution funnel that comes from exposure for what we're selling that you just can't buy, right? Netflix has 300 million subscribers. You can talk all you want about about reality TV and everything. But the proof is now in the pudding, and the proof was in the pudding from $1 Million Listing.
Sure.
There's 10 years of pure case study as to how content to commerce was the new business model for selling tangible assets like real estate.
Right. 300 million subscribers to Netflix. Not the buyer of the Central Park Tower penthouse, though.
No comment.
No.
Ouch. Ouch.
You gotta put it out there. Like, there is.
Whoa. Okay. Listen, breakfast has been served. Yeah, you can ask Gary. We had 3 offers while we had the listing.
Yeah.
2 while it was at 250, 1 when it was at 195. All 3 were rejected. We negotiated on all 3. None of them got the deal done.
Yeah.
And then we took it off the market, and it's been off the market ever since. That said, there's for that, which is a super, super unique asset, there are 1,000 stories we have of people watching both $1 Million Listing and Netflix, or just watching our social accounts, who've then come and then bought property because of it, or who have found that point of first substantive contact with the property because of our ability to create a marketplace and not just put property on top of a market, right? But go on.
I mean, would be interested to know what those negotiations look like, but I'm sure that's not something you'd love for us to talk about today.
It's tricky, like the high-end market is where the liquidity exists right now, and so it's north of 10 million, which for us is our signature division, and it's like south of 3 million, right? It's baby boomers buying apartments for their kids, which is the greatest wealth transfer the world has ever seen. Like, you have trillions of dollars being transferred by 2030 just to women, right, from parents. And then you have a luxury market that is like seemingly unstoppable, but it also pays attention to comps. You see what's happening in 432 Park right now, right? And so the market pays attention to these things, and then they want the next new thing, like 80 Clarkson. Yeah. We've done lots of transactions at 80 Clarkson, and you're just trying to get in before the next price amendment because it's that next new thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I do want to talk about the marketplace a little bit. There's a lot of controversy, as I'm sure you all know, going on about market transparency. And so I'm interested for you guys, if there was a Serhant private listing platform, would you put your listings there before listing them publicly? And Ryan, is that something that you would ever engage with?
I mean, it's kind of what we just talked about. I think our ability to get the highest price from the best buyer on planet Earth comes from our ability to put properties in front of the most amount of people. Like, I wouldn't be where I am today. None of us would be on the stage. This show wouldn't exist. Serhant wouldn't exist if it weren't for clear market transparency. I do also think we need to push back against third-party vendors that hold our listings and lead flow and business hostage. So we're kind of like stuck in the middle. We do not have a private listing network. We have one that we're piloting in Florida. Private listing networks have always existed in Excel.
Sure.
Right? But like, I think the battle to break the system, right? And I mean, like, if you talk about Compass for a second, and I don't speak negatively about anyone or anything ever. I play incredibly nice in the sandbox unless they work for me.
That part.
Compass's goal is to break everything and own the pieces. It's incredibly clear. Like, they're not building Amazon, they're building Barnes & Noble. And the story has already been told, right? You gobble up as many of the little players as you can, and you replace them with bigger offices, with a clear POS, right? A point of sale system, a nice consumer interface, and coffee. And then you try to get as big as you can so you can't fail, but you just don't understand that the paradigm shift is in the experience between the customer, right, which is your agent, and their client. And it's just wild to watch. Like, and I know this is in your comment, but you came at me, so now I'm out. Like, you know, I bootstrapped Serhant for the first 4 years, and I raised venture funding for the first time in my entire life in December. We raised $45 million. In December, and we announced it at like 10 a.m. At 1 p.m. that day in December, Compass announced that they were buying Christie's, a franchise business, for $450 million. 10x what we raised as a bet on the real estate model of yesterday. And I'm like, wait, did I make the mistake? I'm betting on tomorrow. Okay, I don't understand what's happening. Well, 2 weeks ago, Simple, our AI product, went live in the App Store. It's changed the way I work. It's changed the way our agents work. Literally that same day, Compass comes out and says, if you want access to our listings, you have to come and get them in a physical book in physical brick and mortar offices. High tech, high touch books, right? It's Barnes & Noble versus the future. And transparency for the independent bookstores, the large bookstores, and the digital first experience, which is what we provide and what season 2 is about, and what I will fight for every agent to my death, is what wins in the future, not buying revenue or losing revenue, right? It's earning revenue and earning the right to be in the room in the first place so that we can provide those listings to as many people as possible.
Mic drop.
No idea what the question was, but
I'm not sure that I do either anymore. But that was great. Well, so I want to talk a little bit to all of you guys about the effect that, you know, not only being on the show, but being a broker at Serhant has had on your careers, and particularly like joining Serhant when you were bootstrapping it from the beginning, from the early stages. Like, tell me what that decision was like for all of you guys. And then when you're as a Serhant, you know, not employee or agent, is your experience that really the value add? Is it being on the show? Is it proximity to Ryan? Is it the sort of entire Serhant as a company, as a business, like the infrastructure of that? What was the selling point for you guys?
I can speak to that because we had no office when I joined.
And we met in WeWork in masks.
Yeah, I think you were eating lunch. You had a packed lunch, and we met. That was my interview. And Niall is the real reason why I'm here, because he gave me a 1-hour prep talk and was like, "This is where you will shine."
And you are shining, so I'm very happy that she made.
I did not know that.
We had never even met.
You set me up.
Yeah, he gave
Ryan's
me an hour
like, hey,
of
talk
his
to
day.
Trish.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know. I don't think I should come here. And he's like, talk to Niall. I can speak from my own experience. I think I have a very unique experience in this brand in general, but I immediately, the week I met with you, I met with 4 other brokerages. It was like a Monday through Friday thing. You were a Thursday appointment. And I was like, I want to talk to everybody. What I loved about it is I walked into the room to meet with him, and he knew something about me. And whether it was fed to him or whether he did his research, he was interviewing Trisha. He wasn't just interviewing another candidate. That was important. I thought it set the tone for what my experience would be. And it was the only place I felt that I could come here and fully be myself, whatever that looks like, and get someone to help me promote that as a brand and not like fold into an existing brand.
Yeah.
So I always say that he's a big light and he's a big star, but he's okay with other people shining too. And he just gives you the tools to do that. Like, I feel extremely free at Serhant. And that's important because when I feel free, I feel creative. And in this market, I have to be extremely creative to stand out and to stand above what everyone else is doing. That's been my experience. The show absolutely added another layer to that, but I believe I was shining way before Netflix showed up.
You
I
were,
do.
for sure.
I do.
I agree.
I do.
Absolutely. And what about you guys? I mean, Niall, Chief Evangelist, new title for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take down Leonard in that capacity. So yeah, Trisha, I was so really nice to see you come on board. And Ryan, he acts like he doesn't have me go out and talk to some of the agents that he's trying to recruit. He's like, oh, you talked to her? Like, actually, yeah, you told me to talk to her. And I closed her. So you're closer right here. You're welcome. But overall, I would say the TV show, like Trish said, is definitely another level. But what I found most endearing about, joining Serhant early is that I had the experience of being at Compass when it started. So I was like agent 189 over there. And I saw the insane trajectory that I had being a part of that brand. And it's a great brand. But being in a room with Ryan where he's like, we're gonna do video and we're gonna sell more real estate than anybody else in the entire world. And I was like, yes, video and selling more real estate. Because like what Trish said, I did feel that I had this big personality that was kind of capped by the brand. It was a great brand, but it was also capping because you have to fit into this specific mold. But at Serhant and with Ryan, he gave me particularly and everybody else at the firm the freedom and the encouragement to go out and be yourself and be the best possible version that you can be. I can't even tell you how many times, even just this morning, people came up to me and said, hey man, I love your videos. I really appreciate the way that you do your property tours. That time you teleported to 111 West 57th Street, that was insane. Like all of these different things that I had the freedom to do here. And in fact, it's not suppressed, it's actually encouraged, really helped me to be the best version of myself that I can be, not only as a person, but as an agent. And then, to work with such an incredible cast of not only real estate agents, but Serhant Studios and all of the other ventures and all the other aspects of Serhant that we have available to us has really allowed me to elevate my brand. And it's just an excellent ability that I have to be sitting also next to Ryan. And I always say that iron sharpens iron. So the closer that you are to the sun, the better. And, I'm just very, very happy and privileged to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ryan, my question for you, because Serhant is no longer, we're owning Manhattan, but it's no longer just Manhattan. It's no longer even just New York. And it's not even just, New York and South Florida, right? It's Pennsylvania, it's upstate, it's Arizona. How do you maintain that sort of sense that these folks seem to have, that proximity to you has value, that you're appreciating them, for those folks who are also like in Arizona?
Our agents in Arizona are crushing it, by the way. I don't know. I do the absolute best I can.
Yeah.
We're not a franchise, so we don't franchise, right? So I don't sell franchises around the country. I'm far more focused on great quality agents instead of great quantity. Like if we could have the fewest amount of agents to sell the most amount of real estate to provide the greatest service to buyers, sellers, and developers, that's the win. I don't understand, and again, I could be totally wrong. Like I am a real estate agent. My competitors as CEOs of other real estate brokerages, I don't even think are licensed, most of them. And I don't know how many open houses they've sat in the rain when no one shows up and have to have that conversation with a client. I've done that for, almost 18 years now. So I care very much about every agent that I have. I am researched about, what they do and how they are and how we can make them better through our program and kind of bringing them into our ecosystem. And the growth is because we earn it. I didn't wake up and look at a map and say, we're going to go to Arizona.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's important that everything we do, we earn the right to be there. And our growth there is already like insane. We opened with, I think, $750 million in trailing 12-month sales. It's a profitable market. Our business as a whole is incredibly profitable, which is a unique in this industry. I had no idea that wasn't a thing. And we do a lot of ecosystem generating activities. We have our Serhant Lives every week. I'm in it with everybody across all markets and just try to do the best I can.
Do you have a cap? Is there like a number of agents that you're like, I would get up to 1,000 agents and beyond that it feels unsustainable?
We crossed 1,000 agents last year.
So no, not that number.
Yeah, I just want to work with great people. I never set out to build the biggest company. I set out to build the best company for how real estate was going to be bought and sold and developed in 2030 and beyond. I don't understand this race to agent count and market share right? I think, again, I'm far more focused on the quality and the service. And I think if there are great agents around the country or the world that see how we do things and see that that's the way things are going to be bought and sold and developed in the future, and they want to do things differently, then we are the only place that does that. If they want to continue to do things the traditional way, and it's fine. Like, there's plenty of other firms. So I don't know. Ask me that question in a couple of years, I guess.
Okay. We'll come back to that one.
Okay.
And then what about, obviously you have a core background, and all of these folks, except for Jade, have core backgrounds as residential brokers, right? But commercial is something that increasingly Serhant is digging into, right? And I mean, I'm thinking not just about, some of the wonderful buildings that Jade has and that Bernadette, who's here somewhere, has worked on, but and Trisha Lee has, absolutely, yeah. So tell me about what that's been like, for you guys as residential agents to see the firm start to dig into commercial. How much do you see, it seems to me like there's almost this dissolving of the line between these two different sides of brokerage. Is that something, Ryan, that you think is true, that you want to encourage, because you do have, folks who are traditionally in the residential space jumping into commercial? Is that something that you guys are all thinking about?
I think it happens quite organically, especially with some of our clients, multifamily, there might be a retail space at the bottom. Developers quite often might have a retail space at the bottom. So we kind of work in collaboration. I'm not trying to expand into it, but by having those agents in-house, we have people we can work with. So it's just another facet we can provide our clients with service. You don't have to go to somewhere else, because we have people we trust in the company that can just do it for you.
Yeah.
And because we are small, I've always had a curiosity about commercial, never discussed it with him, thought it would make more sense to show him rather than ask him. And I felt free. I felt free to go to Bernadette and Jade, and Jeff and I got so much support from them, and we're able to come back with this level of success, like launching this amazing building on 5th Avenue and 59th Street. I don't know that I would have had that support and that freedom in another firm, but again, that's one of the reasons why I absolutely chose to be here.
Yeah.
And just to your last question, because I don't think he could have answered it, we have close access to him within the company. All the brokers do, all the departments do. And when you see someone leading and working that hard, in real time for real, I believe him to be the hardest working person in our firm, period, end of story. It is so motivating. You know what I mean? So a lot of the results I feel like I get, it's because you're literally just around the best and the hardest working people. It brings the best out in you. I've watched people come into the firm, and I've watched them change physically, their business, their branding, their confidence. And I don't know if we have a name for it quite yet, but these are people that I've known for 10 years, and I've watched that shift. And I saw it for myself. I saw it for you. And I see it for so many people, but I think it's when your leader is out there doing everything you're doing 10 times fold. How can you not? How can you not get up every day and be driven?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How many more nice things can we say about Ryan? How many more things?
She's got
5 a.m. text messages. No, but he's hardworking. And so you kind of if you can't get that out of you and pull it out of you, you really don't belong here, because that's the environment we're in. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that where the inspiration, this whole sort of addition of Serhant Commercial and expanding this part of the business, how has that turned into, because I'm particularly interested.
I think it's twofold. Yeah. One, we agents joined and came through, and Paul Bologna is our sales manager in New York City. He's right here. And to Jess's point, there's intersections, right? The CFO or the CRO or the CEO of a company that also needs industrial space or warehouse space or a multifamily building, we're doing their apartment deal and their townhouse deal. So, we still do refer out to, a lot of the big commercial firms. Bob Knackle's in the room right now. James Nelson's in the room right now. We work with them hand in hand, both on their personal residences. I've sold James Nelson's house in the city. I sold Bob Knackle's apartment in the city, but we also do deals together. We have listings with both of them. But then, Bernadette, Jade, and a lot of other agents have brought in these opportunities that just make sense. And so we don't say no to opportunity if it makes sense. I'll also say New York is just different now.
Yeah.
Right? We sat down with, with Atlas, for this building on 22nd Street last year. And they'd kind of gone through the classic process of selling a building and running the process and bid deadlines and all that. And they just weren't getting the outcome that they wanted, because New York has changed. A lot of these buildings are not selling on cap rates anymore. They're selling on the user and the story, which is what we do. That's all we do when we sell apartments and houses and new construction residential buildings. And so he said, why don't I give you a shot? And we sold it, Commercial brokers were comping it at, I think, like 38 to 39 million. We sold it for just under 51 because we sold it to a user. And so I think other owners are starting to see that effect, especially in New York, and are tapping us. So again, it's earning the right to have the conversation and not just going and asking for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the sort of user story there is really interesting and really a big change in the commercial world. And I'm interested in, was that your pitch when you went in for 281 Park Avenue, the photographs that got building?
They RFR came to us. They came to us, and I said, I want to do this with a partner, and so we do a lot with Avis and Young. We do a lot with James Nelson, who's back there talking, not paying attention. And so we brought him in, and Bernadette, and kind of the team, and that story and how we're selling that is a part of season 2.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see that. All right, I want to grab some questions from the audience because I've been taking up a whole lot of time. Yes, we have one up here. Alex, can you come on up this way? This woman right here. Great.
Hi, how are you? It's nice that you're, giving him accolades, but I'm coming from a different place, and I want to congratulate you. I don't know you, you don't know me, and you went into an area that I was trying to sell for over 20 years, which is downtown Fort Myers, which that really blew my mind that you were there. So you are a visionary, and I want to tell you that. So you were saying that you're looking for opportunities and you're looking for something different. So everyone thinks he's in Manhattan, he's in Miami, but guys, he has a property in downtown Fort Myers, and everyone might be like, what? So I just wanted to hear a little bit about how you thought of going there. I know Niels Richter, you may have known him, but things very interesting to me. So you can share with everyone that you're not just doing the big markets. You are having faith in other markets that are going to be coming up. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I'll say that our expansion strategy has been a little bit more of a Walmart approach than like the Bergdorf approach. Like when we went to Florida, yes, we do a lot of Miami, we do a lot of Palm Beach, but my first market in Florida was Delray, right? Delray is a great feeder market. And then it makes the urban markets look at us and say, did you miss it? What's going on? And then we're able to move in with incredible adrenaline instead of going into a market that is, like a Miami or a Palm Beach to start. So same thing, when I went to the best coast of Florida, instead of going immediately into Tampa, Sarasota, and Naples, we said, you know what? I think there's a lot of opportunity in the Brooklyn of that coast, right? Which is in Fort Myers. And there's a lot of new development there. It's incredibly inexpensive. And we can provide a lot of value. So we did that and then went into Naples and we absorbed McQuaid & Co., right? So we'll be one of the top 5 brokerages in Naples by the end of this year. And it's been 2 months. And then we went up to Tampa and Clearwater, and then we went into Orlando. So again, I think it's for all of us, right? And looking at opportunity, I say this to these guys all the time and to all of our agents. Markets do not dictate your income, they dictate your strategy. And you've got to have strategy, right? Every year provides you lots of bad weather and reasons and tariffs and this, that, the other. Great. You stick to your goals. You don't negotiate goals, but you can pivot strategy. And that's an example of doing that. And that building's selling well, actually.
Great.
One Fort Myers.
Thank you. Here.
Hello. Ryan Kalimera, first of all, from agency in Greece. You said you want to work with great people, so hopefully...
Yasu.
Yasu File. Hopefully we can connect later on, but my question is about the show. How do you tend to balance personal ego within your team members with, team success?
So that's how do you balance
How do I balance their egos?
I don't have an ego.
How about their
Oh,
ego?
really?
Come on. These two.
What are you looking at? And all of these, not just these 3 people's egos, but all of these people as well, right? And then
Have
the
you
egos
seen
of
these
all of the
people?
other brokers that you're working with.
Yeah. The show is, and if maybe we could just, Paul, can you tell people to be quiet, please? These people. Shh. Thank you, Paul. Good job. Thank you, sir. There is something fun about watching ego at work, right? And you have to have enough ego to do this job. Like, there's no salaries, there's no benefits. You eat what you kill. every day is incredibly hard. You're not just gonna have bad days, you're gonna have bad months, you're gonna have bad years in this business. It is so much easier to just go get a job. And so that little bit of that ego and ignorance to the truth is what makes people successful as solopreneurs, which is what everybody is. These are not 3 agents. This is not, 10 other agents. These are, for me, I look at them as these are 10 enterprises. Some bigger, some smaller, some louder, some quieter, and they all operate in their own way. And then what happens when you put them into a melting pot, right? That was my pitch to Netflix. $1 Million Listing was 10 years, came to an end at the beginning of 2022. I immediately worked with studios, our production company. We put together a reel for a show called House of Serhant, because I took down this office building in Soho like a lunatic. And I was like, that's our clubhouse, and we'll make a show about that. And we pitched it everywhere. We got offers from Peacock, Amazon Prime, and Netflix. And we went with Netflix because they have the biggest distribution. And then they changed the title on me, which is fine. Because they said no one in Mongolia knows what a Serhant is. So owning Manhattan, it's a much better thumbnail, which I agree with. But there's fun in watching people at work, right? And then balancing out ego. I mean, there's multiple issues that I have with everybody in this room on this season.
Let's hear about some of that.
I don't know if I can't talk about it, actually. I think Jeffrey is the only person who might be unscathed this season so far. He's the mayor. Jeffrey's our mayor. We looked, he's shaking hands, kissing babies, we're creating connections and introductions. He's good. The rest of them, my God.
Wild. New York keeps us humble too, though. I feel like New York humbles us because what we go through just to get to set, we can't walk in with an ego. Like it's very humbling to do this in New York because nobody cares.
No.
Yeah. They're like, move.
And I mean, I was gonna ask, like, do you feel your own egos get inflated when you have people on the street who are like, hey, I saw you on Owning Manhattan? Like, how does that, and then how does that affect your ability to still be professional with your clients, right?
Well, for me, everybody notices me on the street as the bald guy from the TV show. So I'm really trying to own that and shine, as much as I possibly can. So it's
Doing great, buddy.
it's nice, right? I think it's pretty good. And everyone notices me as it. And that's really what I think is like the best thing about it is like, I could have an ego, but I'm also like, this is excellent. And it's a great way to have a conversation starter. So I use it and then I try and sell everybody real estate.
Yeah, and our clients, at the end of the day, it might get us in the door, but you still have to turn up and do the job. They're still interviewing other agents. Again, from the $1 Million Listing days, I actually started working with someone else from the cast, and you realize very soon that, yes, you're on the show, and it might open some doors, but most people, as Trisha said, our clients don't care. They care who's going to sell it the best. And sometimes, yes, you're getting more exposure because you're on the show, etc. But there's still amazing other agents you're always up against. So yes, it might open the door, but you still have to turn up and do the job.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, right here? Awesome, I love the mic. Got a mic for
My
you.
voice carries, though. How many hours of filming does it take to get one episode?
God.
And do you have any say-so on the editing?
No, there's so many.
They have no say on the editing.
No.
I do. I'm an executive producer this season. I don't have Final Cut. Netflix has Final Cut. It's their show, right? It's their network. We started shooting season 2 September 21st. We wrapped principal photography a couple weeks ago, but we won't be fully done. It's why my hair is still long until May 20th at 5 p.m. when we do our final interviews. In reality TV, the interviews where we sit there and we're like, oh man, she said what? Like that. We got to shoot that that takes the longest. You sit in that chair in 5-hour blocks as they just ask you question after question after question. Yeah. So if you're ever watching reality TV and you're like, man, they have an attitude during when there's those sitting interview moments, it's because we're losing our minds. Because by hour 4, you're just like, I've lost feeling in my legs.
Right.
I don't even care. What do you want me to say about Niall? Yeah. That's how it goes. But it's a major commitment. Like it's a major amount of time that, where the outcome is in the success of the vertical, which is why we push so hard too on marketing. Like the success of season 1, I think was one, we had a great cast. I think the show was great, sure. But we also really marketed the hell out of it. Like studios, ID Lab, which is our marketing agency, came together on our own and we marketed that show across the board, you know, to the point where like Netflix was like, we've never experienced a cast who markets the way you do. And I'm like, we do this for a living.
Right.
This is our job. Right. Like, who'd you think you were working with? And we'll do the same. We've been in promo to bank content for season 2 for like months now that you won't see until the show is about to come out and then 30 days thereafter, because it is a machine. It's an attention engine. And then the more people who know what you sell, the better, right? To everyone's benefit.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think we have time for one more question. Yes, over here.
And I want to do a thing for social, so don't move.
Okay, so everybody we're going to do one more question, and then everybody's going to keep your seats.
Yes.
We'll do something fun.
What's the question? Ryan, what would be your biggest advice for a brokerage wanting to tap into the luxury department?
Into the luxury department?
Yep.
So I think it's very hard to go from zero to hero. Like, it's hard to say your average price point's $1 million and say, well, now I want to do 10 million. That's like being a great high school quarterback and saying, why college? I'm going to go to the NFL, right? Like, you have to, again, it's earning the right to be there. Luxury is a mindset. It's not an actual thing. It's not tangible. It's just mindset. And yes, it can be defined by things that are more expensive than others, but it's mindset. And so to get into luxury, I've always told people, once you cross $1 million, you have a know, like, and trust factor up to 2 million. So your focus is to get a deal at 2. Once you're at 2, you have a know, like, and trust factor up to 3. And you move up that ladder, everything beneath the price point you want to be at as you grow your career. You then have team, you have juniors. It doesn't mean you don't do that business. It just means that your brand is now associated with 2 million and above, 3 million and above, 4 million and above. Whatever the most expensive home you've ever sold is, you do that and above. And it doesn't mean you let go of your bread and butter. If your average price point is 600 grand, you just don't talk about those deals until you've done 4 of them. And then you bulk them together and you say $3.2 million in deals, right? $4.7 million in deals. No one cares. They just read the headline, you know? And then also be where luxury is. If you're not hanging out where those customers are, then they're not going to look at you as the one who's going to solve their problem, because that's what sales is, right? You're solving a problem that someone has. I want to sell this home. That's my problem. I want to buy something. It's a problem. You're a problem solver when you're a great salesperson. And the luxury market, once you're in it, you become the problem solver across the board, right? You become a concierge to kind of all of their needs. But that would be my best advice. The only shortcut, and I'll say, and then I'll stop talking, is this is a tricky market. And there's plenty of very expensive expireds for sale by owners, listings with hair that people don't want to touch. My first listing over $5 million was in 2011, was 45 West 67th Street, apartment 15 ABC, that was owned by Kathy Comerford. And I was broker 5, because it started at 20 million, then it went to 18, 15, 13, 12, 10. I got it at 8.5. Because no broker wanted it, because it had 8-foot ceilings and the market in 2011 was recession, But then I didn't care, you know, most expensive thing I'd ever had. And then I got that and then went to the next one.
Great advice for your personal marketing. If you pitch me that story for the real deal, I am going to ask you for the specific breakdown of the individual deals. But, all right. Thank you all so much for being here.